The year 2026 has just begun, yet unsettling scenes continue to emerge across China. As social assistance fails to keep pace, more and more young people are falling into dire survival situations. In order to stay alive, they are forced into the ranks of those scavenging through trash bins. One such person is Gen Z Mao Qiqi. Unable to find a job, she spends her days riding her electric bike around the city with a large woven bag, searching for trash that can be exchanged for money. She often works from dawn until dusk, only stopping when it gets dark. In addition to rummaging through trash bins, she never misses any bags left by the side. When she gets tired, she sits on the roadside, drinks some water, and eats whatever she can. The recyclable items she collects in a day often pile higher than herself. She shares, "We are children from poor families. In this society, we have no connections, no family support, and no safety net. When we started out, we didn't have our parents to rely on. Our margin for error is so small that any mistake could lead us into a bottomless pit. All we can do is figure things out on our own, step by step." A netizen, Qing Tian Hongjie, also shared a video of her forced entry into the garbage picking industry. She said, "This is the real situation outside my door. Every day, countless people come here to rummage through the trash bins, and more young people are joining in. Nearly every day, at least 100 people come and go, one wave after another. Someone is always bound to find something they want. Just now, there was someone on an electric bike, about the same age as me. More and more people are scavenging now. I also wonder, if you saw a whole piece of cardboard here, would you pick it up? I would, because there's often cardboard here, and I would definitely pick it up." Similarly, a young netizen named Scavenging Orange also shared their journey of picking up trash online, and it sounds quite heartbreaking.
"I've been collecting scrap for so long, I've long gotten used to the looks from others. At first I was afraid to be seen, but now I actually hope there are more people around, because the more people there are, the more I can collect. In the end, reputation is the least valuable thing. When survival becomes a problem, saving face doesn't help. I'm no longer in a position to be picky, and I definitely can't afford to lie down and do nothing."
On January 1st, Mr. Xie, a resident of Zhangzhou, Fujian, stated in the past, most people who rummaged through his family's trash bins were elderly. However, more and more young people who can't find work are now being forced to join them. The reason is that mainland China has almost no social assistance system. When people face hardship and reach rock bottom, it feels like living is worse than dying. The number of people struggling to survive is increasing, but these situations remain covered up and go unreported. Many citizens have reported that the trash bins in their neighborhoods are often rummaged through multiple times each night. People fight over bottles, cardboard, and other recyclables, creating frequent arguments. What's even more surprising is that Liu, a graduate from Taiyuan Medical University in Shanxi, is also struggling to find work. To support her younger siblings, who are still in school, and her mother, who is hospitalized due to illness, she has no choice but to survive by picking through trash. She said, "I don't want to collect trash, but there's no other option. The smell is unbearable. Becoming a doctor requires at least a graduate degree or a PhD. It's not something you can just decide to do. You have to continue your studies. I'm the oldest in the family, and my mom has had 2 surgeries for thrombosis this year. Right now, not going into debt is considered good enough." In fact, this is not a sudden crisis in Chinese society. Based on online records, by the second half of 2025, the situation of young people relying on collecting waste to make a living began appearing sporadically. By the end of 2025, it exploded in numbers, gradually becoming an issue that could no longer be ignored. Moreover, the growing number of people entering the garbage picking industry is making it harder for those who originally relied on recycling to survive. Mr. Wang, a resident of Qingdao, Shandong, said, "Now even picking bottles is highly competitive. People are out scavenging through trash bins in the middle of the night." Miss Wu, a recycling shop owner in Hefei, Anhui, shared that in the past, she and her husband ran their shop and earned 120,000 to 200,000 yuan a year, enough to support their family. However, in recent years, as the economy has declined and recycling prices have dropped, many recycling shops have closed down. She said, "There's no good business anymore. We pay 1 yuan for a drink bottle, and when we sell it, we make only 0.2 yuan per pound. It's getting harder to collect waste, and if you're not careful, you can lose money. The only profitable items now are precious metals and electronics, but you need to work hard. It's better than working a regular job. Now, many young people are doing this, even those born after 2000. So, why are more and more young people in China fighting for jobs like garbage picking? The simple truth is that this shift is not due to a sudden change in values but a result of harsh realities. There are several reasons for this growing trend. First, the job market's capacity to absorb new workers is rapidly shrinking. We have discussed the severe youth unemployment situation in China in previous reports, so we won't repeat that here. In addition, industries like real estate, the internet, platform economy, and government positions, which once employed many young people, have also contracted in recent years. A large number of young people with decent education have been pushed out of the formal job market and are stuck in a cycle of temporary, outsourced, or short-term jobs, with earnings that no longer cover basic living costs. Mr. Li, a 32-year-old migrant worker from Guizhou, returned home after losing his job but has been unable to find another one for a year. Farming income in the countryside is meager, so he's left idle at home, feeling lost about the future. The only thing he's grateful for is not having a mortgage, as he has never bought property in the city. He said, "The cost of supporting a family is very high now. Often, the whole family of 4 has to work outside. Jobs are becoming harder to find, and even staying home requires constant expenses. We can't afford to get sick." Mr. Cui, a laid-off young teacher, has a pessimistic outlook on the future. He said frankly, "Now even a job with a monthly salary of 3,000 yuan is being fought over by college graduates. Borrowing to work has become the norm, and those born after 2000 can barely see any prospects. In my view, this is no longer about effort. The elimination process is in full force, and no one will help you. You have to save yourself." The healthcare system is also falling apart. Under high work intensity and continued salary cuts, by 2025, a clear wave of departures was seen among medical staff. Dr. Zhang, a 37-year-old from a top-tier hospital, explained, "The hospital is overcrowded, and each patient only gets 2 minutes for consultation. We work almost every day without rest, burdened by administrative tasks and research work. After enduring high pressure and shrinking income for a long time, I've lost all hope for the future and decided to leave the system." The collapse of the media industry is equally alarming. The economic downturn, combined with the rise of social media, has led to the closure of numerous newspapers, TV stations, and publications, resulting in mass layoffs of journalists and editors. Mr. Song, a former journalist from Sichuan, bluntly stated that the industry no longer values truth, but rather focuses on how well one can please those in power. Wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few. Opportunities for the lower class continue to disappear. Academic credentials rapidly lose value, and education can no longer guarantee a change in one's fate. The second reason young people turn to garbage picking is its higher certainty. Unlike many low-end jobs, collecting recyclables requires almost no barriers to entry. It doesn't need a degree, connections, or an interview, and the income can be earned on the same day. There's no risk of delayed wages, and the work schedule is entirely self-determined. In a volatile job market with high uncertainty, this instant cash certainty has become more reliable for many than a job that could cut at any time and come with unpaid wages. The third reason is the absence of social assistance and safety nets. Once unemployed, many young people cannot access sufficient unemployment benefits, and families are unable to provide support. Without a safety net, even the most marginal ways of making a living become the last resort for survival. Lastly, the low-end barrier and rapidly increasing competition make garbage picking even more difficult. Yet for individuals, it still provides a meal and some cash flow. This low but certain reward has become a rare commodity in today's environment. In the end, what young people are fighting for is not the job of garbage picking itself, but the minimum, relatively stable survival guarantee it represents. Ironically, while the pressure on young people in China continues to increase, forcing many into garbage picking, the Chinese government is loudly promoting the so-called kill line in the US. The term kill line originally came from video games, referring to the threshold at which a character's health falls below a certain level, leading to defeat. Today, it has been borrowed to describe real life, where once an individual or family crosses a certain threshold, the buffer disappears, and life quickly spirals out of control. The term has gained popularity in China, largely due to the government's intentional propaganda, using it to mock the lack of protection among the US middle class. The implication is that if a middle-class American family faces an unexpected expense, they could quickly fall below the kill line and slide to the bottom of the social ladder. However, many netizens believe that despite the flaws in the US welfare system, there are still basic safety nets like unemployment insurance, food banks, and church aid. In contrast, China's social assistance is far more limited. Coupled with the economic downturn, it is actually China that is more likely to experience the kill line effects. The increasing number of young people forced into garbage picking is a stark reflection of this reality. Interestingly, a prominent Weibo influencer, Master Mei from Shanghai, based on real-life cases around him, outlined the 5 kill lines of Shanghai residents, which resonated deeply with many urban dwellers. He first mentioned that Shanghai, with its large number of foreign enterprises, has long been a place where many local residents worked for over a decade in stable positions with slow-paced work. However, as foreign enterprises shrink or withdraw, many employees in their 40s, already in management roles, find it difficult to return to similar positions with the same salary and work intensity after being laid off. Once income is interrupted, their standard of living rapidly declines, and the family's ability to withstand risks sharply decreases. This is what he called the foreign enterprise kill line. Meanwhile, the high cost of overseas education has also created an invisible kill line. Many Shanghai families send their children to study abroad in Europe and the US, investing hundreds of thousands of yuan during the undergraduate years. However, in recent years, the employment advantages for these returnees have diminished significantly, and their salaries are insufficient to cover their education costs. This has left many families burdened with heavy financial pressure long after the investment has been made. In terms of asset allocation, the kill line risks related to financial retirement investments have become increasingly evident. Families that invested early in P2P, trust funds, or senior care projects have seen their accumulated assets shrink significantly due to risk events. For middle-aged and elderly people who can no longer return to work, these losses often directly impact their retirement security, shaking the stability of the entire family. The most crucial risk, however, is the kill line in real estate. Many families initially relied on selling property or rental income to support their retirement. But as property prices and rents decline, their original plans are disrupted, forcing them to lower their retirement expectations. In first-tier cities, where property values are high, the impact of these reductions is even more pronounced. Additionally, private education has become a risk point for many families. For those whose children attend private or international schools, any fluctuation in family income makes tuition unaffordable. Transitioning back to public schools is not easy, putting pressure on both the family and the child. From official data, it's clear that the kill line phenomenon is not unique to specific areas in China, whether urban or rural. Recently, China's Chilshi magazine published an article from the National Development and Reform Commission, which directly acknowledged that insufficient domestic demand has become the key issue in the current economy. The most apparent manifestation of this is the public's low willingness to spend. The China Statistical Yearbook 2025 also shows that in 2024, only 8 provinces had per capita disposable income that met the national average, while the other 23 were below this threshold. Looking at income structure further clarifies the issue. Wage income remains the main source for most families. This means that any fluctuation in employment or income leaves many families with little buffer and quickly pushes them below the kill line. As the kill line continues to extend, more families are likely to be affected, inevitably leading to more young people being forced to survive by garbage picking. So, what will happen to Chinese society if even garbage picking no longer provides enough for survival? Recently, a scholar from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences reviewed that, according to what he heard at an internal meeting, next year's social risks will not stem from a single issue, but from the combined impact of multiple pressures. Online complaints about youth unemployment may turn into actual protests. Tightened local finances will primarily affect grassroots levels, where people are more likely to gather and take action. Another concern is the population structure, which seems to change slowly but is actually the hardest issue to address. For instance, many young people are unable to have children because they cannot afford to raise them. The scholar concluded that while each of these problems is not new, their combination creates a classic grey rhino situation. This term refers to risks that are visible and obvious, but have been long ignored or delayed despite their clear potential to cause significant harm. He further noted that since the second half of 2025, local governments have been feeling financial pressure, and the atmosphere within the civil service has changed. There is continued tightening within the system, while outside the system, anxiety is widespread. Young people, in particular, either face high-pressure work environments or are unemployed, leading many to vent their frustrations online. A retired servant from Nanchang, Jiangxi, confirmed this, stating that his workplace recently only paid basic salaries, and the office atmosphere was noticeably tense. Internal reminders were frequently issued, "Do not speak out of turn." A retired individual from Hunan also noted that, in practice, the priority is to ensure the operation of government functions and the payment of salaries, while social projects like education and healthcare are continually postponed. These issues remain unresolved, and this approach of simply holding everything down will inevitably lead to a deterioration of public trust over time. An anonymous person from the Jiangsu judicial system summarized that the risks have been clear within the system for some time. Extreme events have occurred, but they are still isolated. The real concern is that if these events suddenly escalate, the current state of the government may not be able to withstand it. If it all collapses, the consequences are easy to predict. It is also worth noting that according to statistics from the Free China Network under the Freedom House umbrella, there were 1,392 protests in China during the third quarter of 2025, a 45% increase compared to the same period in 2024. Participants included workers, property owners, villagers, as well as parents, students, investors, and religious minorities. Regionally, Guangdong had the most protests, followed by Henan, Hunan, Hebei, and Shandong. In response, Mr. Liao, a private business owner in Zhengzhou, bluntly stated that this year, the pressure is clearly falling on businesses. Subsidies are delayed, tax refunds are nowhere to be seen, and payment for projects keep getting postponed. We can't pay wages, and those coming to claim their salary have gone from just 1 or 2 people to a whole group blocking our door every day. In Shenzhen, Mr. Wang, an activist who once assisted migrant workers in defending their rights, saw another troubling trend. Many young people returning to their hometowns are being forced to come back to the city. He explained, some return home only to find the land has already been contracted out, with no work available. Returning to the city, they cannot get paid and end up sleeping on street corners, surviving on a few pieces of bread. With unpaid rent and loans, they have nowhere to plant back home and no money in the city. What will happen if this situation continues? Everyone just wants a stable life, but when hunger takes its toll, they are left with no choice but to demand an explanation.